Hello and welcome to Wheel Thing TV. I'm Dave Knoll. In this week's episode we're checking out the Subaru... Hello and welcome to Wheel Thing TV. I'm Dave Knoll. In this week's episode we're checking out the Subaru Forrester Diesel S. It's the now familiar Boxster shape that we have. It's the now familiar Forrester shape that we have. It's a course of evolution for this particular car, in this case riding on 225 55 18s with those beautiful alloys that it's got. It's a very familiar look to the car and a little bit of a walk around. There's been some minor sheet metal changes to the rear lights, parking sensors missing, and around to the other side, pretty much a mirror. You've got your little polyurethane safety features down there, and of course to the front, very much that family look now with the sort of eagle eye headlights in there with that sort of frosted look for a bit of an LED, and of course you got your driving lights down below. Something I thought would be a little bit disappointing on the back of the Forrester was the fact that there's no parking sensors, but you know what? That actually brings back into call the old ability to drive by yourself. The other thing about this particular model, the S of course, is it does have a powered tailgate. Again, a option that's becoming very, very popular within cars. And you've got your little button just up here. Press that, and back down she goes. Having said that, if it's raining, it would be a lot quicker just to use your hands, really, wouldn't it? On startup, you get this nice little sort of display, and on the bigger screen, you do get the Subaru logo flashing up as well. And you've got your newer touchscreen interior. It's a very handy and very easy to use system, very ergonomic when it comes to the air conditioning as well. These little buttons just on the lower left hand side of the steering wheel are the ones that will activate the information screen up on here. So if we gently flick through, for example, you've got all these little pieces of information: elapsed time for driving, the system, how it drives through all four corners of the car, fuel consumption, and of course a on-the-go average as you are driving along. Very simple to use, very effective, very tidy in regards to the way that the steering wheel is laid out, but a little bit odd in that we've got this old style sharp edge one here and the new softer rounded edge one here. I'm still not a fan of these kind of designs. The ones in a Kia or a Hyundai where it's like a little roller dial instead of a sharper edge ones, for me personally, seem to be a little bit easier and a little bit more friendlier on the fingers. A noticeable feature of the Forrester is the fact that the little pivot hinge, or whatever you want to call it, it's got these little lugs in it, so the door actually stops at predetermined points rather than just sort of waiting on the action of the door or the weight or something like that to hold it into spot. And across here, being the push button start, nice and simple. You've also got the memory height for the rear tailgate, and if you're inside the car, to open that tailgate as well. A very functional looking interior, has definitely been updated, and Subaru's beautiful touchscreen setup. Get the button going. Turn the volume down once it comes on. Starlink is their system name. Subaru's Starlink touchscreen system, as you can see, choice of AM, FM, Bluetooth, all the other bits and pieces, information, and your home screen on here. You press and you've got your options of maps and audio, which are all operated via these touchscreens here. And of course on your settings, as you can see, you've got your screen, Bluetooth, all that. Also you've got your information buttons available just here, and they again move everything around up in there for information purposes. It's a clean, functional layout and operated via a few buttons, as are the tailgate, memory height, and of course in the S you've got your push button start. Same engine of course as the L, so you get your CVT with your 7 steps and that 350 Newton meters of torque. I really don't like the CVT in these kind of cars. It just saps the performance and really doesn't add anything to the actual driving experience. You do get Subaru's off-road mode of course for your choice of going into dirt or gravel or whatever, and in the S you do get high or low powered heating for the seats, and in Sydney's winter where the car is being tested, certainly a very nice option to have. On the road, the Diesel S is absolutely beautiful to drive in regards to the handling and the actual ride comfort. It's a little bit more taut than the L, it's a little bit harder. As a result, it just seems to be a little bit more grippy on the road, even though the grip levels are probably pretty much the same. It does have different tyres, I have to admit. The biggest issue, again, is that CVT transmission. It just seems to be hesitant from park to drive. You want to come off a standing start while you're in drive, it just seems to think about it. And also, when you give it a bootful from a standing start, it just feels like it's a slipping clutch for a manual. It just doesn't really seem to put the power down, the torque down, like it does in a normal hydraulic automatic transmission. Underway, it's pretty much the same. The engine is a little bit chattery at times as well, but overall, it really is the CVT that I think is the weakest link in this particular car. The Subaru Forrester S diesel, it's a very competent car. There's lots of features to like about it, but that constant variable transmission, the CVT, is an absolute dud. I have to say that because it saps the performance of what is otherwise a pretty potent engine. In other cars that have the old hydraulic transmission, the automatic transmissions, the amount of torque that they put out is utilised and it's put down to the ground effectively. The CVT just saps it. It really does feel like you're in a manual car with a really bad slipping clutch. It's just not good enough in this kind of car. For Wheel Thing TV, I'm Dave Knoll. Well, another week with a CVT and a diesel, and unfortunately the CVTs just don't cut it with this kind of engine. I really don't believe that they should be using these. I think they should go back to the old hydraulic transmissions. They're much more effective at utilising the torque and putting that torque down to the ground through all four corners in this case. For pricing and warranty, contact your Subaru dealer. For Wheel Thing TV, I'm Dave Knoll.